So you've finished a spell. Now there's wax, or you might have herbs, or maybe there's a used poppet or old spell jar. What do you do with all of that leftover magic? Let's talk about how to release, reuse, and respectfully dispose of your spell remnants. Coming up next. Welcome to the Witch's Studio. I am, of course, Mickie Mueller, author, illustrator, and witch, not necessarily in that order. And today's video was suggested by my Patreon member, Matthew. Thank you, Matthew. It's a great topic, and I see this one in my comments a lot. What should we do with our magical leftovers? Well, I'm going to share my perspective, and I'm also going to reference two articles that inspired me. Autumn Damiana's After the Ritual, The Remnants, and Blake Octavian Blair's After the Offering. Both of these come from Llewellyn periodicals that were from 2019. There's no one size fits all answer here. Traditions and individual perspectives vary, as do spell goals, materials, and what's accessible to you. So I'm going to share options, not rules. I want you to listen to your gut, respect your path, and choose what feels right to you. Part of the working. Sometimes how you handle spell remnants is actually part of the spell. In these cases, I have a few guidelines for you to consider. With attracting magic, you might want to keep the spell items in your home or your wallet or your car, bury them in your yard or potted plant. Basically, any items used for attraction magic can be disposed of or released in your home or near you. For banishing spells, however, you might be better off to dispose of those items far from your space. Consider casting or burying items at crossroads, into or across running water, or in graveyards, or even just a trash can far from your home. Items for banishing or uncrossing spells will probably serve you best when disposed of away from you. Now, if you're working protection magic, it can be useful to repurpose those leftovers from your spell as additional shields. You might sprinkle herbs under your doormat, bury candle stumps at the edges of your property, or place sigils or petitions used in your spell behind the photos or the art in your home. While doing healing work, an option could be to combine remnants into a charm bag or a gift to the person that you're doing the healing work for. These are just a few examples of how some spells can include disposal or release as part of the actual spell. But sometimes you just don't want to bother with all that, and that's okay. So let's break down the most common remnants that we have left over after spells and suggestions for what to do with them. For candles, small amounts of wax, you can just declare the spell complete, thank the wax, and toss it. For larger wax chunks, if you like, you can also save them for future spells. I like to melt them and make new candles. You can also use melted wax to seal jars or make magical wax melts. I save these remnants in a Ziploc bag labeled with the spell's intention so that I keep that energy aligned for future use. Some witches, however, prefer the idea that melting the wax brings it back to neutral. You just have to decide what makes sense to you and what you believe for your own practice. Burning candle remnants in a bonfire, if that's available to you, can be a great way to release any energy left over in that candle. For tea light candles, you can clean and recycle the cups, repurpose them as incense holders, or any uses you can think of, or just discard those. Those little chime candles sometimes burn almost completely to the socket. In this case, minimal cleanup is definitely a bonus. Maybe that's why these little chime candles became so popular amongst witches. Spell jars, bottles, and charm bags. Okay, I'm lumping all of these forms of container magic together because the methods for decommissioning these is very similar. Some of these, like witch bottles for protection buried in your yard or charm bags kept in your purse for prosperity, are just kept active. So we keep those in place. But sometimes a container spell has run its course. For completed spells, here's what you can do. If the container spell absorbed baneful energy, there's strong advice to dispose of the whole container safely away from you. You could bury it far away. If it's particularly nasty, I like to bag it and use a gas station trash can the next town over. Some people prefer to submerge them in running water, but anytime you're releasing spell elements into nature, it's important to consider the ecological impact of doing so. Let your knowledge of the actual material you're getting rid of be your guide. And if you're unsure, look it up to make sure you don't have any negative environmental impact. If you break or accidentally open a spell jar or a charm bag, it's often not a big deal. You can just recharge it and close it again, or decommission and dismantle it and just start over. But if it's one that was used to absorb harmful energies, you should probably take extra precautions, but don't panic. Pick up all the pieces carefully, put them in a Ziploc bag full of salt, and put that in a brown paper bag and just throw it away far away from your home. Next, I'm going to suggest you cleanse the area with smoke or Florida water. Do a little uncrossing ritual. Think of it as magical throw up. Clean up the mess, dispose of it, and then refresh the area. It will be okay. For neutral or beneficial container spells, you can declare the spell is over and dispose of it in any way that you like. You might choose to open your charm bag or jar and thank it, and then determine which items inside you wish to keep and reuse and which you prefer to release. Anything you plan to reuse should be cleansed before returning it to your magical supplies. We will discuss how to do that shortly. A bit on smashing jars to decommission. If your tradition calls for you to do that, do it safely inside a bag so you don't cut yourself or scatter the glass. Even though I've seen some witches suggest that you should always smash jars or bottles out in nature, I personally don't care for this advice because broken glass can cause harm to people and animals who use that space. Let's not just go smashing jars and bottles down by the river willy-nilly. Sigils, petitions, you can burn those, bury those, recycle those respectfully, throw them away if you wish. Crystals, charms, coins, beads, those are items that you might like to reuse. So you can cleanse those with smoke, water, salt, or natural elements. Be sure to check the Mohs hardness scale for your stones to make sure that you use the best cleansing methods for each one. As for your glass jars and bottles, you can reuse those too. Simply wash them, spiritually cleanse them with smoke or vinegar to reuse, recycle, or just toss them if you want. Some spell jars and bottles use liquids. So for liquids, pour any of these out safely, taking care depending on the liquid so that you don't clog any pipes or harm any plants. When it comes to things like salt, rice, and sand, things like that, be cautious with wildlife and dispose of these responsibly. A lot of salt can be very bad for plant life, and dry rice can make birds very sick. So proceed with wisdom and care. Any of these items can just be thrown away if you wish. Some can be burned if you prefer. For fabric charm bags, if you want to reuse them, you can. I suggest you launder them by hand, cleanse them with smoke, or leave them out in the elements for a brief time. And with any fabric or cords made of natural materials, you may also bury them or burn them. If they're synthetic, don't try burning them, as this can release toxic fumes. And if you don't wish to repurpose them, you may just throw them away. Poppets. Yes, even poppets may be decommissioned. Some magical practitioners will simply burn or bury a poppet to release the energy and the connection that it was created to hold. You may also take them apart and cleanse or dispose of the ingredients, just like we talked about for any other container spell. You can use intention or words first to release their energy. You can literally tell the poppet something like this: You are no poppet, just fabric and thread. Connections are broken, shriveled, and shed. Follow your tradition's guidance in this instance, or use your intuition if you're an eclectic magic user. Offerings. Now, it's true that not all magic users make spirit or deity offerings, but for those who do, it's good to know what to do with the physical gifts after the energy of the offerings have been received by spirit. For edible offerings, you can leave them outside for animals if they are safe for consumption by wildlife. Flowers are easy. Once they start to wilt, you can compost those or you can bury them. You can also dry the petals and save them for spells that connect with that spirit. Composting, burying, or leaving an offering in nature is not accessible to everyone. In this case, ask your spiritual allies. Often, respectful disposal, like wrapping in paper and throwing away with gratitude, is fine. Final thoughts. Magic is creative and personal. There's no one right way to clean up after a spell, just as there are many ways to do a spell. Trust yourself, treat your tools and remnants with respect, and let your intention guide your cleanup, just like it guides your spell work. Let me know down in the comments how you handle your spell remnants. I'd love to hear your methods, and you can help inspire the rest of the community. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, share, hit all the buttons, and share it with your fellow magical friends. Thanks again for visiting me here in the Witch's Studio. I'll see you next time. Until then, stay safe, happy, and healthy. And remember, as always, to be your magic. Bye, everybody.